A roundup of the latest news now. Here are our top stories. A British man, Charles Philip Arthur George, has held a £100 million party funded by the UK taxpayer. Surviving the cost of living crisis, we'll hear some remarkable strategies for overcoming rising expenses. Conning your way to a GP appointment, how one man posed as a construction worker to jump a 489-caller queue to see his GP. Amsterdam tells young British men to stay away. We'll be hearing from the city's municipality. And the UK government emergency alert fails on 7% of compatible devices. More on those top stories to come. First, a British man, Charles Philip Arthur George, has held a party funded by the taxpayer and attended by a number of celebrities at a cost of £100 million. The man, who wore a crown at the event, which took place on the 6th of May, released the following statement.
I'm immensely grateful for my inherited wealth, all earned through the acutely challenging annexation of territory, massacring of natives, and plundering of resources across the globe. The diamond in this crown was stolen from Africa, and there's nothing any of you fuckers can do about it.
Charles Philip Arthur George there. A London man who was evicted from his home when he could no longer afford the rent or household bills after losing his job has come up with a novel way to cope with the rising cost of living. The man, who does not wish to be named, threw away most of his belongings upon being evicted from the property, keeping only a rucksack containing essential items of clothing. He then moved in to a 24-hour gym, which he uses to sleep, exercise and take showers. I spoke to the man earlier today. His voice has been modified to avoid identification. Thank you for agreeing to speak to us. What made you do this?
I couldn't afford anything, could I? It was getting ridiculous. I'd lost my job, couldn't pay the bills, the rent. Then I thought, my gym membership's only £25 a month, innit? It's a 24-hour gym. That's got to be the cheapest rent in London. Short of sleeping rough, of course. Aren't you worried you might get caught? They've got CCTV and everything, but as long as I don't sleep in one position for too long, I can make out I'm doing a yoga move or something, do you know what I mean? You just got to be sensible about it. As a paying customer, there's no maximum period you can be in the gym. So as long as you've paid, there's nothing they can do about it. I also spoke to James Cowan-Dickey from Clapham in South London, who told me how he had been affected by the rising cost of living. My son, Rupert, his school fees are now £100,000 a year, which is absolutely ludicrous. The local council, Lambeth, have outright refused planning permission for us to widen the hallway in our family home to allow us to commute from the living room to the bathroom using the Tesla, even though it's clearly a zero-emissions vehicle. And as if all that wasn't enough, we're now down to just one, yes, you heard me correctly, one live-in nanny.
A man from Haringey in North London, Deniz Yogurtlu, posed as a construction worker in a bid to see his GP, having spent 4 days on hold after he initially made a telephone appointment, but inadvertently went to the toilet without his phone on receiving a call back from the doctor. I spoke to Mr. Yogurtlu earlier today. How did you go about this?
So, when I missed the call back, I was gone like 2 minutes, I thought, nah, blood, I ain't taking that. So I ring them back, and it's like, you're caller number 489. So I thought, fuck that. So I wore this hard hat and high visibility vest from work and I just walked into the surgery, knocked on the doctor's door. There was no answer, so I opened it, and the GP had his hand up some man's backside checking his prostate, innit? So I waited outside, and the GP asks why I'm there. So I told him, I've been waiting days, and I've got pain in my shoulder. So eventually he saw me between patients. But I'm telling you, we are fucking up the system. NHS staff are stressed, underpaid, and we're allowing the system to crumble.
Deniz Yogurtlu there. The Dutch city of Amsterdam has launched an advertising campaign aimed at keeping British men aged between 18 and 35 away from the city. I spoke to Dennis van der Oostenkamp, a spokesman for Amsterdam municipality, to find out more. Why exactly are you doing this?
Bob, the answer is very simple. Young British men are coming to Amsterdam as sex tourists, drug users. They are making noise, having fights, urinating in the streets, and yeah, we've had enough of these people.
Is it British men specifically or young men in general?
No, it is British men. We are seeing a high level of reckless, highly irresponsible behavior which is not on display by other cultures who come here. So we are prioritizing our quality of life and the hygiene of our city over the money that these young men bring.
Is the advertising campaign working?
I would love to say yes, but just last night I personally saw 3 British men defecating in Leidse Plain fountain in the city, so we still have a long way to go.
Dennis, thank you. And finally, the British government's emergency alert sent to all compatible devices within the UK on the 23rd of April as part of a test didn't sound in up to 7% of devices. The UK government's newly created emergency alert service issued the following statement.
People ask what's it for? Is it tracking us? We don't trust this government. It's not backing us. My phone didn't beep. Who gives a bleep? We're not sheep. The young and the old have no phones, so when nuclear weapons are casually dropped on us by drones, are we okay to just reduce them to bones? It's for flooding, they say. Look at the state of the planet today, like those phones are going to work underwater with everything in disarray.